welcome to M's podcast, and I am your host, your one and only Melche. Before we start our podcast, let's take a look to our venue. Since we have a special guest, we should have a special place as well. Let's go. Hi to my lovely viewers and my beloved listeners. So, how is this place? I know it is great and it's very comfy. It feels like home. This place is great for chit-chatting with your friends. And anyway guys, how was your weekend? Because for me it was really tough and I have a very hectic schedule. Work there, and work there. But it feels good to me because I can earn money and I can pay for my bills. And today's podcast, we will talk about the fundamental of the culture, a self-concept. It's about collectivism and individualism. Anyway guys, I am not the one who will give insight about that topic because we have two set of guests. So the first set of guests they are conducting research from a prestigious school, and the other set of guests are really expert about this topic who are a degree holder of cultural anthropologist from also a prestigious school as well. Anyway, so now let's welcome them. And now let's welcome our guest. Coming in. Hi. Hi. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us here.
Hi. No, thank you. Take a seat.
Oh, thank you.
So how was the flight?
It was exhausting.
Oh, really? How was the Philippines?
It's as typical. It's always hot.
Of course it is. So, how was life?
Kinda good. So.
How about you? I'm actually very busy right now because I have a lot of work.
Ooh, just the same. We're also busy right now because we're up to something.
What's something?
You'll find out.
Okay, so today's podcast is we will talk about the fundamental of the culture, and we all know you are summa cum laude.
Wow.
Yeah. So, what is individualism?
You mind answering?
Okay, sure, why not? So, individualism is a concept that particularly identifies with the self. So that means it emphasizes the I identity. So this concept, it promotes independence, freedom, and self-reliance. So, and individualism is also a concept that prioritizes an individual over the whole group.
To be more relatable, we can say it as self-love or knowing your self-worth. That's what the concept of individualism is. Yeah. And how about you? Can you elaborate what you mean independence?
Well, let's say you're in the culture of, let's say, North America. They're very liberated, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you compare it to the Philippines, what's this? In our culture, we don't tend to, let's say, kuan bitaw ka nang nara sa tumbay, dili ta mo bisag dako na ta kay di bida ta mo hawa sa tumbay, narab ta dira kanunay. So sa America, when you reach a certain age like 18, mo hawa bida ka si tumbay.
Yeah.
So that means the independence. So you see the independence. Tas sa kana po, di na po kamo salig sa uban kay mo lagi mo na ang independence. Di na ka move on sa outside factor because you only have yourself. You need to be self-reliant and assured of yourself, and you don't need to burden others because you're independent.
Yeah, and I think independence also comes when you take care of yourself first before others, because that's what individualism boils down to. Self-reliance, self-worth, self-discovery, and everything that concerns you about yourself, that you need to perpetuate something that everything could be done by yourself and you don't need to depend on others, and everything you do is just because of you. It's a result of everything that you made choices to, just like that.
Oh, so it's like being narcissistic.
No, narcissistic is far from being individualism, from the individualism concept, because narcissistic already has that, negative connotation because of the attitude, the actions, the mindset, which really sets a person off. But individualism, I think the good catch of it is that you take care of yourself, you know your value, you know your worth, you value your opinion, and you don't, let's say, you don't settle for less. Because you know deep in yourself that you are better than that and you deserve something more. Yeah, that's the great difference. Because being narcissistic is, always being right, the negative connotation. But the individualism concept always boils down to listening to your opinion, to yourself first. You validate yourself first because you don't need to validate a validation from others. That's the difference, because when you rely on yourself, you both know that there's right or wrong, and it boils down to what you choose, your conscience. But it is an individual choice, just like individualism is. Yeah.
So, that's really great insight about individualism. So now let's talk about the individualism pros and cons.
Okay, so the pros of individualism is that when you prioritize yourself, it gives you uniqueness, a sense of self-identity. You can have whatever you want. You can choose your own career. You don't follow society's standards and whatever. And so you can show your own strengths. You can be recognized by just who you are and not from influenced by the people around you. And you have a self-direct in life, meaning you can choose how you navigate your life without the influence of others. So you can also have an individualism. You can also have privacy, because when you're in a group you have to share everything, diba? And when you're an individualist, you can have your own thing, right?
Yeah, that's the sole purpose of it. That's one of really the positive connotations of individualism. But like you said, self-reliance and everything. How about you? Can you ask something? Are you independent or interdependent?
Sort of.
Why? Can you tell me why?
Because I as a person, I really depend on myself. Like, I don't need people. Like really, I'm that kind of person who don't want to who don't need help from other people.
You don't need to rely on others because you're so sure of yourself,
Yeah,
and you already validated yourself in the first place.
Yeah, and because I feel like I'm really shy to approach for help or something. Like, I don't want it to be like, ayoko like may utang na loob kasi someone might use that for me, like baka gagamitin na for me.
You're staying away from toxicity.
Yes, exactly. Because knowing people are toxic. People are so scary.
Yeah. What about you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think individualism also has to do with confidence?
Well, that might be a part of it. Sometimes even if you aren't confident at first, with individualism, you can accumulate that confidence because you start to, how do we say this? You can find your own strength when you prioritize yourself, diba? You look at your weaknesses, your strengths, and that's when you take advantage of that, right? Yeah.
Do you take advantage of your weaknesses?
No, actually, I don't. I take it as a hindrance in my life. Yeah, because weaknesses are like my enemy in life. They're the one who stop me from being who I am, stop me from doing things that I love. That's why.
The hindrances, you say, the obstacles, they're related to individualism because you really can't be an individual self, a person with choice, a person with direction, a person with clear perspective. If there are really obstacles that would hold you down, but at the end of the day, it is an individual choice to listen who you trust around you, who is going to help you achieve your goals. And that value of individualism also gratifies your inner self because you have yourself. But I think the negative connotation of individualism is that it is really pertained to us being alone, being lonely. And I think that's what stops an individual from admitting that you are independent, you are self-reliant, because we have this shame of,
True.
because in our culture, in the Filipino culture, we are usually pertained to or called as pabibo, bida-bida, because of the individualism we have, because of the choices, because of our vision, that we sometimes are stubborn to take part on something that was brainstormed by everyone, because in yourself there's always a good in your plan, there's always a good in there, and that's what blocks individualism to perpetuate, because people will tend to say to you, bida-bida, selfish, like that. And that's so hurtful. But when on the individualism concept, it doesn't matter at all. Because what matters most is, at the end of the day, how you're going to feel, if you have achieved your goal, if you are happy with it, and you did it with yourself. And you don't need anyone to say flowery words for you, to encourage you, validate you, because you can just tap yourself on the back. Do you tap yourself on the back?
No.
I think you deserve to tap yourself on the
I
back.
don't want to.
Why don't you do it now?
No.
How about you? Do you tap yourself on the back?
No, I'm hard on myself.
Same.
So what do you think are the other negative connotations of individualism?
I can't think of anything at the moment, but let's see. It's more on the lack of consideration for others, since you're only there are other times that when individualism goes too far. Well, you only focus on yourself. That's why you lack any consideration for others around you, diba? Like that. And also, you have low empathy. And also,
I think I'm gonna disagree with you on that, because there was a research done that it was proven like 75% of the population, people who tend to be more independent, they more have empathy to sympathize to someone. Yeah, because they know how difficult it is to be alone in that arena where people are so fond of giving you positive or negative feedback. That's why they don't see it as inferior to them. They even have this great respect to the person who has co-individualist concept of the self, because they empathize more. And I think that's what really the misconception about it, because when you are independent, when you stand so superior, so high, people will tend to say that you are unrelatable, you are hard to reach, you are very, very, very stubborn to new suggestions.
Yes, and that leads to conflicts.
Yeah, and that leads to conflict. But that's where the conflict begins, when there's no equal understanding.
True, but to be fair, there are spectrums of individualism, right? There are others who have low empathy. I mean, it depends really on the culture.
But somehow we need to focus on the Filipino culture.
True.
Great. What a great debate. No, it literally went to debate. I love it, guys. Thank you so much. But before that, let me ask you, are you individualist?
I might say that.
How about you?
I'm a little bit of both, actually.
Both of
The antithesis of individualist, which is the collectivist.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we're going to talk that with another set of guests. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you, guys.
Oh my gosh,
our
you're
lovely
so grateful.
viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
Thank you.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
That was a great conversation from our lovely expert who talked about the individualism. And now, let's talk about the antithesis of the individualism called collectivism. And we have our guest. Hi!
Hello.
So, how was your flight from Philippines?
It was very stressful.
I know.
But yet, so I'm super excited about
Yes.
this podcast.
So, what was your favorite food from the Philippines?
Oh, I can
Let's
say
say adobo. Adobo, yeah, I love adobo.
adobo. And also halo-halo.
Yeah, halo because it's summer, so
Yeah, it's very hot in the Philippines.
yeah, I know. And now, what are your idea about collectivism?
Collectivism is, they are considered as interdependent, which means they encourage group loyalty. The decision are based for the good of all, for the good of a group. So the unity and selflessness are propagated in collectivism.
Yes, it centralizes the needs or accommodating the needs of the group rather than the individual needs. So it has to be the group. But it is like they create laws or something like that, but it is for the good of the group. And one thing about collectivism is that they find it hard to find new relationship with new people because they focuses on their group. That's something that is very different from what you have tackled earlier, the individualism. So that highlights the difference between the two topics.
Yeah, I totally agree about what she said. In collectivism, they tend to grow as a group. They benefit as a group, and the unity, harmony was very what do you call about that? Was very rampant in this topic.
So, in this kind of culture, unlike the individualists, they grow from their own. But in collectivism or collectivist culture, when you're in the group, maybe they're feeling like the encouragement in the circle or in the certain organization or community. So that's how they encourage others. They uplift, motivate. So they grow. Another point is that
it becomes easier or lighter when you have someone to rely on.
Yes.
We can say that I can do it all by myself in life, right? So collectivists do believe that no man is alone.
Yeah, they are
They
very
agree?
dependent in a group. They promote peace and stability within a group. They are not selfish. They promote selflessness. So they're very they tend to have collaboration like that. Yeah.
That there are collaborative efforts, and it creativity exists because when you have a lot of ideas in a certain groups, you tend to make it together. That's
Communicate.
right. Yeah. There's unity in it.
Yeah.
So that's how you can say how it becomes easy for them to grow as a team because and very connected. Yeah, they have
They are connected in terms of their views, values, belief, and they are motivated inside their group when if the presence of one person in a group motivate one person in a group. So they are very what do you call about that? Unity. They have unity.
And one thing, when they focus that unity, they avoid conflicts.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
they tend to share something only for you, and that's I already talked about it when they say na it's hard for them to accept new people, and strangers remain strangers to them because it's hard for them to like share from other groups. They just focus to grow with their own. Yeah.
So what do you think the pros and cons of collectivism?
So the beauty of collectivism in a group, they tend to grow and benefit. They have this a stronger sense of empathy and consideration for others. They have collaboration, like what I said earlier. They have unity, harmony, and they propagated a peace and stability in a group. So, and of course, they are considered as a not selfish group because they tend to grow within a group. They have unity, so they are considered as not selfish.
Speaking on the negative side or perspective, it's like when you're part of the group, it's hard for you to spread your wings alone because there is a reliance in the group. You can't be so selfish, so you need to be valid. In order for you to be valid, you need to consult the group. Like here in our country, most common experience or situation is that when you belong to a family who are like teachers, then you can't just say consider taking another course. Like there is some situations like that you need to you need to consult your parents if they would allow you, but there is a sacrifice. See, you need to sacrifice your passion, what you want, just for you to be called part of the group, part of the family, like another family of lawyers, like that. That's what I've heard mostly, and it's just so saddening.
Yeah, I know.
It's a very
Really
But
sad.
but nevertheless, it's good that being part of the group and being something that makes up a group.
Yes, I totally agree, guys. Collectivism also, their downside is they exist in a homogeneous environment. which means they encourage or they apply the value, the motivation, the beliefs of other people rather than the value and belief of their self and their own growing their own potential. So it's very sad to hear that you are dependent on a group rather than being independent person.
But we can just focus on one side only. We should that's what makes a collectivist culture. So we can just say it's good or it's bad because that's what makes up that culture. That certain culture is not perfect. So that's it. That's the sometimes. I think there are a lot of experiences, but we
only focuses on that.
so it would be easy to understand with our dear students from
Our dear researchers.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I were to ask you, are you collectivist or individualist?
well, I can say I'm both, but not so much. I focus on the good side of both culture. I want to cultivate that in my mind, the goodness of both, because well, I can say I'm perfect, right?
Yeah.
But at least I learned from the two perspectives. I may not be too good, but at least when you learn from another perspectives, you tend to grow and you see another person not so different. You understand them. When you encounter a lot of people coming from individualist culture, you don't easily judge. That's what I want. That's what is my goal. Yeah. To be what?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for coming and for having you as my guest in my podcast. It's such an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now let's welcome back our first guest from Individualism side. Please take a seat. Hi. So, our dear students from prestigious school are the researcher are listening while you were talking and giving insight about your side from collectivism and individualism. Now, do you guys have question about the topic?
I have a question, Lyra. Is your family individualist or collectivist?
Well, I'd say that my family is a little bit of both because, well, my family is they don't have we don't really have the same career. It's different for every one of us, and they really supported me for what I chose as a profession. And as long as that I am happy, so that includes the individualism. And when I say collectivism, as long as I can support my family, I won't leave them out, let's say. So that's my answer.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I have another question for you, Ma'am Lyra. Can you give us an example why Germany is being called individualism society?
That's because Germany has, let's say, they put importance in self-actualization. That's why they are an individualistic culture, and that Germany, they don't have this sense of duty to extended family members. They only they put their loyalty on their immediate family, like that.
Okay, Mom Sheena, can you name a country that can be called a collectivist?
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of country that can be called a collectivist, but particularly most in the Asia, especially Philippines. I can say that in Philippines they have this culture which the elders child can provide in their family. They have obligation. They have their rules and obligation that needs to follow
Yeah.
in their family that they need to provide for it.
It's like paying back to the
paying back for their family, for their parents, and allowing their younger siblings to go to school. They sacrifice themselves. That's what collectivism was all about. They sacrifice their own needs for the better goods of the group.
Well, I have a last question for you, Ma'am Joyce. Why do Filipinos are known of being a collectivist society?
Because there are a lot of cases where it happens, like what I've said earlier. You need to follow a footstep from your parents or from the family. Another example of it is that when you come from a group that is, like, let's say conservative, you can, and you want to you want to be like as liberated as other country. You need to you need to sacrifice what you want, because it might, let's say, shame the group, or it might destroy the image what was built in the whole group. So yeah, that highlights sacrifice. And there are a lot of cases here in the Philippines, and I've watched some from TikToks, and mostly from millennials. They want to speak out for themselves, and I've heard a lot of this. Have you encountered something like that?
In my life, yeah, I've encountered a lot. Okay, so thank you so much to our dear guests for coming to my show, to my podcast, and it's such an honor for you guys to have here. Thank you so much. Thank you. And to our dear student, come here. Come here to our dear researcher.
Yeah, maybe let's have a little photo opportunity.
Yeah.
For your documentation purposes also.
1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's end my podcast. Thank you everyone, to our staff, shout out to our staff, to our production manager, to our director, and of course to the owner of this place who are kind enough to let us